Hi everyone, hope your weekend is going well. Easter is up here in the studio with me, helping me out with this patch I've been working on. I'm working on a patch from VCV Rack. If you're not familiar with the VCV Rack, it is a open source modular synth program that you can get for your computer. It's really awesome. I've been having a great time with it. I've been working on this patch for a little while and have to give a shout out to Omri Cohen. He is the VCV guru when it comes to tutorials and things like that. I'm going to put a link to his YouTube channel underneath everything here. Check him out. He is if you want to know anything about any of these modules or anything about modular synth, he is the go-to person for it. So thank you very much, Omri, for all the help you've given. And let me go ahead and show you this patch. So this patch here, I've been really getting into generative music. Generative music, Brian Eno, I believe, came up with the term in the late 70s. Basically, you put a set of parameters around something, and Easter's going to be leaving us. Say bye, E. You put a set of parameters around something, and then from there, it will start creating music. Great example is his music for airports. If you get a chance to listen to that, take a listen to that. So I've been really inspired by that album and others, so I wanted to kind of do a generative patch. So this is somewhat generative and somewhat not. It is in the key of G minor. So those are the parameters it has, and I'll go through the patch. So let's hear the patch for a few seconds, and then I will kind of go through what I did. Here we go. Okay, so that's kind of what it sounds like, and it'll go on like that forever. It's kind of fun, just hit record sometimes and just let it go and then see where it takes it. So let me go through most of the sounds on it. The first thing I did, let's go through these guys. These are plucks. So let me do this real quick. We'll get the plucks pulled out. Okay, so the plucks are... kind of got that cool, like, plucky sound. Let me show you how I did that. What I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of these cables for a minute. Okay, the first thing, let's do with this channel 1 here. Just listen to it. So what I'm doing on this one, channel 1 and 2 run through the same sequence, they just have a different sound. So if you look at channel 1, it starts off with a clock here, and the clock is set at 60 beats per minute. I got the cables back. So the clock is set at 60 beats per minute. I've got 3 different clocks on top of the normal clock, so times 2, times 4, and divided by 2. And so from there, how this patch works is the first thing it does is this is Ableton Link. It's kind of cool. It'll link everything up for your BPM, but I'm not using it on this one, so I'll go through that a later time. So the first thing it's using is a random sampler from Audible Instruments, and this is a really nifty thing. It basically takes your signal and uses a sample and hold and randomizes things, so it's you're always getting something different. So let me go ahead and go into this here, zoom in a little bit. Okay, so you'll see here we have this random sampler going, and from the random sampler, what is happening is we're using this thing. It's a grid sequencer. It's from JW, and it is a sequencer with a quantizer built in, so it's in the key of G minor here. These are different probabilities on the input. So I have it randomizing, so it's just doing its own thing. It's randomizing left and right, wherever it wants to do. And from there, it's being output into a shift register. And a shift register is it's a sample and hold and kind of sequencer in one. Basically what it does, so it sees its trigger here. So it's receiving a trigger. It's receiving a trigger from the grid sequencer, and once that trigger happens, it starts sequencing these 8 different steps. So basically it'll take step 1, and then when step 2 hits, step 1 drops down to here, step 1, or step 2's up here, and then it takes step 1 all the way down. So that's how that works. From there, it goes into an FM operator, which is the sound source, and this is what sound we get here. Number 2 here, sound 2, is the same thing, just a different sound on the FM operator. So let me hear that. So you hear that doing its own thing. The reason it's doing differently is because I have feedback going more on that one, so it's giving some more texture to it. All right, so that is sound 1 and 2. Let's do sound 3 here. All right, that's a good sound. Okay, how did I do that? All right, I could have used this clock up here, but I have enough power in this computer. I went ahead and used a separate clock. Went into Squinky Labs from Gray. Went into Gray Code from Squinky Labs. Think of this as kind of a clock divider. It's more than that. It does it in a different way. It's got 2 different modes. It's got balance mode and standard mode. If you put it in balance mode, everything stays about equal, even though it's not exactly equal. And if you go to standard mode, it changes the lows much more often than the highs. From there, I went into a VCA because I wanted to use a VCA so I could control how much of the signal's getting through so I didn't overload things. Used another quantizer. This quantizer's from Replesin. It's the Replesin Rewin quantizer. So it is a 4-channel quantizer. I used a couple different quantizers in here. Not any real rhyme or reason. Just kind of wanted to familiarize myself with a couple different ones. And from there, it went into the Lindbergh Research analog VCO. So this VCO, you'll see voltage-controlled oscillator. I've got it dialed down to pretty low. I got it down to 4 foot. And it's got 4 different... oh, the cat's coming back. So it's got a saw, a pulse, the sine wave, and a triangle. And what I did is I put those all through the slide here. And you can hear the cat. He does this all the time. From the slide, I went into this mixer here, and I put it into a separate mixer so I could get all 4 of them, pan them the way I want to, and bring it up to the main mixer here. So let's hear that again real quick. Cool. All right, next one is the pad. Okay, so the pad here. Okay, so the pad here, what I did on the pad is we went through the Bogue Audio ADDR sequencer. Basically, that is it's an 8-step sequencer. It does a few other things, but I'm just using it for the sequence part here. So I went through that into another quantizer by JW, G minor again, and this goes into the VCV host. VCV host is a paid module, completely worth the money in my opinion, because if you use a lot of soft synths like I do, this allows you to do that. So right here I'm using a Jupiter 8 for the pad, and from there it goes up into the mixer there, and you get that cool little pad sound. Alright, next sound is the bass sound. Let's hear this one. Okay, so let me show you how this bass sound works. So it's kind of cool. So it goes high and it goes really low. All right, for the bass sound, what I did is I used, I'll show you where we go from. First thing I used for the bass was I used the Turing machine from Stellar Modular, and it is a randomizer. It's doing 4 steps. I'm not using it for exactly everything it can do. It can do so much more than I'm using it for. But right now I've got it randomizing 4 steps through the clock here, and the clock's doing it 30 beats per minute because we have a clock of 60. Divide that by 2. And from there it goes out into another quantizer from ML Modules. And this is just a different quantizer. It's in the key of G minor. From there, it goes out into a, it's called the XFX wave from Blamsoft, and it's a wavetable oscillator. And you can see here I've got it kind of doing a saw wave. Let me fire this back up. Kind of got it doing like a saw, but I'm also modulating just a little bit so you can see it shaking there. So let me turn it up just to show you what it does if I turn it all the way up. See, it starts to break up and it's starting to modulate really fast. So that's how I did the bass sound there. Next sound is, this is one of my favorites. I didn't even plan on doing this sound. It kind of just showed up when I was screwing around with stuff. It's a quote-unquote choir. So what I did with the choir here is, it's kind of cool. I used the VCV host. I used Omnisphere, which is another soft synth I have, and there's some choir settings in there, and I screwed around with the choir settings till I found one I liked and got it going. From there, I went ahead and put it through the Turing machine so it kind of randomizes itself, and from there we put it back into Quantum, the same quantizer we used before, and from there it went out, and you get that cool sound that we have here. Alright, the last sound is the drum sound, and this is kind of fun. So these drums are just randomizing themselves. So how I did that is, once again, I used the VCV host, used Storm Drum 2 from East West and found an ambient kit where each key has a different sound to it, and just told it to go ahead, randomize itself, have fun with that, randomize away, and went ahead and put it through the Turing machine here. And also, did I put that one through? Sorry, I got a little confused real quick. I used the Bernoulli gate, but what did I use the Bernoulli gate for? Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, okay, so now I remember what I did. Okay, so I used the East-West, the Storm Drum 2 samples. They went ahead with the clock over here, or I used the gate, and that is over here, divided by 4. It goes up through the Turing machine, so that's where you get that sound. And then I have it pan randomly, and how I panned it is I used a Bernoulli gate. So Bernoulli gate, basically like a coin flip, and I just set it up here under the pan, and so it decides it goes left, right, or center, and it just adds some more fun to it. And there we get all the sounds here. The only other things I did was I used send reverbs and a send delay and a send chorus. You can put them in the patch itself. I prefer to use it as a send. That way I can control how much reverb's going, how much delay is going, and how much chorus or effects are going. So first thing I use a Plateau, which is a cool reverb. I highly suggest taking a look at it. It's really fun. The second one I used, I've never used this one before. It's from Erica Sense. It is the Fusion Delay Flanger, and it does some really cool stuff. And the last one I used was another soft one. I used a Microshift from Sound Toys. Okay, so that is the patch. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments section. And if you like what I'm doing, hit subscribe. I'm trying to put more videos out as I get the time to do it. And again, thank you to Omri Cohen for all of his help. Please check him out. He is the best there is when it comes to teaching this stuff, and I've learned so much from him. So thanks for listening, and thanks for watching, and I'll talk to everybody later. Bye.